You walk up to the aquarium, and before you even touch the lid, a fish rises from the plants and swims straight toward you. Not toward the food container, toward you. Most people assume fish simply react to movement or food. But scientists studying fish behavior have discovered something surprising. Some fish can learn individual human faces, remember them, and respond differently to familiar people than to strangers. So here's the question. Can fish actually recognize their owners? For years, fish were seen as simple creatures. Many people believed they had almost no memory and lived purely on instinct. They were often treated as living decorations rather than intelligent animals. But modern research has completely changed that picture. Scientists have found that many fish can learn complex tasks, remember locations, recognize patterns, navigate social relationships, and even solve certain problems. Species like goldfish bettas and Oscars regularly show learning abilities that most people never expect from fish. And that brings us to something even more fascinating. Recognizing an owner is very different from simply recognizing food. Fish experience the world differently than humans do. They pay close attention to movement, visual patterns, routines, and environmental changes. To a fish, your face may not be important in the same way it is to another human. Instead, it notices things like your body shape, the way you move, where you stand near the tank, and how often you appear. Over time, these details create a familiar pattern. The fish begins to learn that one specific human is different from everyone else, and that learning can become surprisingly accurate. Researchers have shown that some fish can distinguish between different human faces and visual patterns. In experiments, fish learn to approach certain people while ignoring others. That means they were not simply reacting to the presence of a human. They were recognizing which human they were looking at. Think about that for a moment. An animal many people assume has almost no memory may actually remember the difference between one person and another. Many aquarium owners notice something similar at home. The fish remains hidden while the room is quiet. Then a familiar person enters, and suddenly the fish emerges and swims directly to the front of the glass. Sometimes it even follows that person as they walk across the room. At first glance, this seems like a simple food response. But what most owners never realize is that the behavior often continues even when food is not involved. The fish tracks the person's movement, remains visible longer, and appears more interested in that specific individual than in strangers. This suggests something deeper than simple feeding behavior. It suggests familiarity. And familiarity is one of the most important building blocks of recognition. But the strange part is that not all fish show recognition in the same way. Just like humans, fish have personalities. Some are bold and curious. Others are cautious and shy. A confident fish may rush toward the glass whenever its owner appears. A shy fish may stay near a plant or decoration while quietly watching from a distance. Both fish may recognize the owner. They simply express that recognition differently. This is something researchers have observed across many species. Individual fish often display stable personality traits throughout their lives. Some are natural explorers. Others prefer safety and observation. Because of this, recognition and friendliness are not always the same thing. A fish can know exactly who you are without behaving in an obvious or dramatic way. And that leads to a deeper question. Why does recognition matter to fish at all? The answer may lie in predictability. For most, fish survival depends on constantly evaluating potential threats. The world can be unpredictable and dangerous. When a particular human appears over and over again without causing harm, that person becomes part of the fish's predictable environment. The fish learns several things. This person is familiar. This person behaves consistently. This person is not dangerous. And sometimes this person brings food. Over time, that familiarity reduces uncertainty. The fish no longer needs to react with caution every time the owner approaches. Instead, it becomes comfortable. This behavior actually means something deeper. Recognition creates trust. Not trust in the human emotional sense, but trust in the behavioral sense. The fish learns that this specific individual is safe and predictable. And for an animal whose survival depends on avoiding danger, that is a very meaningful relationship. Humans often feel a bond with fish because of these interactions. When a fish swims toward us, follows our movement or way to the front of the tank, it feels personal. Sometimes people assume the fish loves them. The reality is probably more complex. Fish likely do not experience relationships exactly the way dogs or humans do. But that does not mean their behavior is meaningless. A fish may genuinely recognize a specific person and choose to approach because that person has become important within its world. That kind of recognition is real, and perhaps that is more remarkable than people realize. What makes this even more fascinating are some of the discoveries scientists have made about fish intelligence. One of the biggest myths is that fish have only a few seconds of memory. In reality, many fish can remember information for months. Goldfish can learn feeding schedules, remember locations, and respond to routines long after they are first learned. This longer memory makes owner recognition much more believable. Some fish can even learn to distinguish between different human faces. Imagine looking into an aquarium and realizing the animal staring back at you may actually know which person you are. That possibility changes the way many people think about fish. Large cichlids, such as Oscars, are especially famous for interactive behavior. Owners often describe them as behaving almost like aquatic dogs. They watch people closely approach familiar individuals and sometimes seem to actively seek interaction. While stories from owners are not scientific proof by themselves, they match what researchers know about the learning abilities and intelligence of these fish. Another interesting observation comes from owners who leave home for extended periods. After returning for vacation, many notice their fish quickly resume familiar interaction patterns. The fish may have gone days or even weeks without seeing that person, yet the response often returns almost immediately. That suggests the memory of the individual remains stored long after daily interaction stopped. Of course, not every fish approaching the glass is showing recognition. Sometimes the fish simply expects food. Sometimes it is investigating movement. Sometimes it is defending territory. Context matters. A fish rushing toward anyone near the tank during feeding time may simply be anticipating a meal. But when the behavior consistently happens more strongly with one particular person, even when food is absent, recognition becomes a much more likely explanation. And that's where the story becomes truly fascinating. Fish are often underestimated because their intelligence looks different from ours. They do not wag tails. They do not purr. They do not make facial expressions we easily understand. Their behavior is quieter, more subtle, but that does not make it less meaningful. When a fish remembers, a person responds differently to that person and adjusts its behavior based on past experiences. Something important is happening. A relationship is forming, not a human relationship, not a friendship in the way we usually imagine, but a connection built on memory, familiarity, and trust. So can fish recognize their owners? The evidence suggests that many can. They can learn individual humans, remember familiar people, and behave differently around them. They may not experience affection exactly like mammals do, but they are far from the mindless creatures they were once believed to be. And perhaps that is the most beautiful part of all. Behind the glass is an animal living in a completely different world. A world of currents, reflections, shadows, and silent movement. Yet somehow, through repeated encounters and shared routines, that animal may come to recognize one particular figure standing outside the water. You. And in its own unique way, that recognition may be the closest thing to a bond that exists between two very different worlds.